morning, everybody. I've got the honor to welcome you, Group 7, to our presentation of emotional intelligence today. We would like to give you a short theoretical overview what is emotional intelligence and how it is measured before we go right into practice, where we can see how emotional intelligence is across regions, how you can improve emotional intelligence in context of body language, and at the end we want to give you some practice example of emotional intelligence in the business environment. How is emotional intelligence measured? The first measurement method was before we get it measured, we go back to the definition. Emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive, control, and evaluate emotions. It is not only the emotions, controlling and understanding my emotions, but it's also being aware of the emotion of other people's. When we bring EQ in context to the IQ, we have the iceberg, where all our behavior and our decisions are just 20% led by our IQ and 80% by the EQ. The EQ consists of basically 5 components. It is self-awareness, where I recognize my own emotions, then self-regulation, that I control my moods, and motivation. These are the inner components, and the external components are empathy, which we learned in our last communication class, is the understanding of other people's emotion, but also social skills that I'm able to build and maintain relationships and networks. So now, how is EQ measured? The first measurement method which was introduced is the Roiven-Bar-Ons EQ measurement. It is a self-test where 5 components are measured. It is interpersonal and interpersonal skills, the stress management, adaptability, and also the mood scales if I'm optimistic or pessimistic. An improvement of this Roiven-On test has been made, and also this test has brought into a context of other people's. Well, when I'm asked, do you think, are you able to solve problems well? Well, I give an answer which I think is good, but I'm not so good in judging myself. Therefore, this model does the test also with manager, peers, and direct reports. And all these results are brought together, and here we see in this example report, the person judges himself for self-regard quite high, but his direct records, managers, and peers judge him a lot lower. These are the self and peer tests, and then we come to the multi-factor emotional intelligence scales, which is an ability test where you're not asked, do you think you're able to solve a problem, where you get real problems, and you have to think about how you would solve them. A last test I wanted to show you is also an ability test, where you can find out how optimistic or pessimistic you are, where you also given hypothetical events, and you have to answer how you think you will react in this context. And this test, I find it quite interesting, is also used for the recruitment process, so that the recruiters can find out the abilities of his future employee. And I will pass over to Halsio, who will talk about emotional intelligence across regions.
Morning, everyone. Well, I'll carry on talking about emotional intelligence across the regions or across the globe. So, as we all know, intelligence is one of the most regarded qualities in today's world. So, being regarded as an intelligent person, our peers, our colleagues, our friends, and family, it's very important for us as human beings, as future workers and future leaders. So, at the end of the day, it raised the question: is IQ enough to measure us as intelligence or not? I don't think it is. That's why we're approaching the subject as EQ would be the most accurate way to measure it. And as an example, we celebrate people like Mandela, Einstein, and so on. And Mandela, in my opinion, I consider to be one of the most intelligent people in terms of emotionally speaking, because he was a man of good sense. And moving on, I would like to talk about the different ways that cultures perceive EQ. Pretty much in our life experience, we've been through other cultures, other societies, and sometimes we don't really understand why some people do prevail, some people do have success, and others don't. And one of the reasons why is maybe because you never take into account culture. Culture is very important, the way we grow up, the way we've been raised, and it really makes a difference when it comes to be successful and to be perceived. So I will use the 5 bridges, the 5 sectors of intelligence just to give a quick brief about what they can help you. So when you are capable to be self-aware and self-regulate, you can understand how you behave. And I have a saying: if you can understand, you can control. So essentially, if you understand your environment, you can control your environment. The second one is motivation. Sometimes we really don't understand what motivates other people. Sometimes we think money is everything, but it's not everything. We think that other people in other parts of the world, they feel motivated the same way we do, but things work differently as well. So the last time, but not less important, I will talk about empathy and social skills, which is like the link between all those 3 to make them work. So if you are able to interact with your peers, interact with people from different culture without judging them, it's really important for you to strive and be successful. So I'll leave my part now to my colleague Deepak. Thank you.
Thank you, Alcio. So how to improve EQ and how do we manage our relationships? EQ and managing relationship. People with a high amount of EQ perform better in order to influence and inspire others, to build bonds and ability to communicate, to help others develop and grow, to resolve conflicts, to bring positive change, and to develop relationships. The ways to build relationships are by influencing others positively, by being an inspirational leader, by creating a vision which motivates everybody, developing others by sharing skill sets and helping others grow their potentials, changing catalysts, accepting the change and helping construct them, conflict management by solving the conflicts such as misunderstanding issues positively, building bonds, and teamwork and collaborations. So this is the framework which Doris had discussed earlier. For self-awareness, we have to have the emotion self-awareness. For social awareness, we need to have empathy with people. And for self-management, we need to have self-control. And that all leads toward building relationships. So developing relationship and then inspiration, leadership, and all the other bits which can help developing our relationship. With our research, we find out that these are the main factors which affects in a positive way or in a negative way when it comes to relationship. When it's physical or mental, physical we are talking about non-chronic problems such as low blood pressure, high blood pressure. Mental we are talking about stress and depression. That all leads toward the psychological problem that can affect the EQ. So if anything has an imbalance, the EQ level will get affected. So therefore, we cannot make good decisions. If we can't make a good decision, we can't have good relationship. And vice versa, if we are in good health, we'll be making good decisions. So how do we manage our emotions in a stressful situation? First of all, we can identify the problem and calmly find a solution. People with high amount of EQ can solve the result, can have a better. To be successful, it is very important to have a high amount of emotional intelligence. To improving relationship management, the ways to increase, this is the internal point of view as being self-control. For self-regulation, we can reduce our obsessive behavior, don't be extremely selfish, find out a balance between the straightforward and lack of clarity, pay attention to others, punctuality, show that you respect others, and optimize non-verbal communications. And conflict management, these are the 8 steps which we can form in order from make a plan from meeting to develop a go forward. So how do we develop EQ? With the help of development of EQ, we can have reduce stress in the moments, beat relationship stress with emotional awareness, use humor and play the deal with challenges, resolve conflict positively, and we can have a non-verbal communication. For non-verbal, we have recovery.
Thank you, Deepak. So, the importance of non-verbal communication and how it influences EQ. So, when we want to convey a message, more than half of it is conveyed through our body language. So, here we have some factors, facial expression, proximity, orientation are all important to convey properly to our audience. And for example, gestures. Have you ever seen an Italian do something like that? You know, it's very important the way how you communicate to your audience. So when you are about nonverbal communication, you are about what is your life, what you want in your life, and how you can improve your personal interaction. So, here there is for example, the example Obama, how you can mark the difference between success and failure just with your body language. What you can do? You can understand your own body language. You can be aware of the feedback from your audience, and you can try to control your body language. And each position it's different to transmit a different state of yourself. So how you can improve? You can practice in front of a mirror or just videotape yourself when you speak. Try to be natural. Try to be open when you speak, and identify your patterns. So the feedback from your audience are very important, because when you see your audience that is not interested, you have to try to change your way of communicate. And so give a look to their legs, their arms, then hands. Try to be in contact. It's important for the empathy and the social skills that you have to improve your EQ. So use your body language consciously. Try, control your posture. It's nothing difficult, but it's very important to do. And now about identify cultural norms, we have Elcio that want to say something, because we have different body language related in different culture. Elcio?
Yeah. Then again, I'll just give like two quick examples of something that can be perceived as disrespectful. For instance, in Africa, if you are addressing to someone or in a meeting with someone older than you or considered to be superior, if you're talking to him with your hands in your pocket, that tends to be very relaxed and can be considered disrespectful. Other things, Africans normally, when they give you something to you, if they give you with the right hand, they hold the hand like that. That means they're being respectful. And if they give you with the left hand, they say, sorry for the left hand. So I don't mean to be disrespectful. So there's just two little examples that can show us how things can be perceived in different parts of the world. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about practicing EQ in interviews. Emotions play a really important role in how we understand how people behave and how they're going to work together in organizations. There's evidence that suggests 58% of our performance is actually based on EQ. And people who perform well actually have higher EQ, and they actually also get higher salaries. So it makes sense that recruiters are going to assess your EQ during interviews. So we have some examples of interview questions that may be asked that are actually asking how you handle your EQ. We've got one example here. Paula, we want you to pretend that you're a hiring manager and you're interviewing Tom. And if you could ask him this interview question, we're going to see how Tom responds.
Can you tell me a common perception people have of you?
Well, I think anyone who's worked with me knows that I have the answer to everything. So I like to tell everyone my opinion so that they know what to do.
So how did you think Tom's response went? How would you evaluate his EQ? And you guys have the sheet that show the different areas of EQ. For one thing, how do you think his self-awareness rates?
Well, he's certainly self-confident.
Okay.
Too much.
Yeah.
Is there any other type of response you would give that would show that you have higher EQ?
It should be less about me, and more about people
Yeah, like
around.
you could say, you like to listen to other people's ideas and share yours, and how, kind of a more balanced approach.
Yeah.
Could have spoken about a weakness instead of just how good he is.
Yeah, and how you tackle that weakness, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, we've got another question here. So, Eduardo, can you ask this question?
Can you tell me about the time when something didn't go as planned on a project and what you did to correct it?
Well, you'll ask me this time. I was working on a project, and we actually ended up going over budget. And I thought that was totally unacceptable because I needed to hire a consultant to do some of the additional work, and now I couldn't do that. So I made sure that my team spent all the hours they needed to make sure that work was done, because it was really their fault that we went over budget. I think that if you're going to have a team, you should really hold them accountable to everything they do, especially when they make stupid mistakes.
So how do you guys think Rohini's answer went?
In self-regulation, has difficulty accepting blame.
Yeah. So we've got just some other examples here of questions that may be asked to assess your EQ. For example, the first one here is really asking how well you adapt to change. And there's other questions here. Basically, the tip I can give you with EQ and interviews is think ahead. Think about situations where you've demonstrated EQ, and that way you won't be kind of surprised when these sort of questions come up. Think about, when you showed self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, social skills, and just have some examples in your head.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about how emotional intelligence can be useful in teamwork. So first, I like to talk about studies. There was a really cool study done in Australia where they had a group of students randomly assembled to work, kind of like we are here at Hull, to work together on designing a website for a client. And while they were working on the website, they had the students write in a journal about how they interacted with each other, how they were feeling about the project, that kind of thing. And at the end of the project, researchers came and read all the journals and compiled what everyone felt about each other and how they worked together. And they came up with some general results about teamwork, which were, and you can kind of slot these into the different categories of emotional intelligence. So in terms of sort of self-awareness and social skills, the teams that were functional, that worked really well together, when they were working together, they looked to see if anyone was upset. They looked for signs of conflict. And when they saw conflict, they tried to fix it. Whereas the dysfunctional teams, a lot of times they didn't notice when their team members were upset, or if they did notice, they didn't care. They thought that their team members should just kind of deal with it themselves. They didn't try to fix the situation. In terms of, go back please. In terms of empathy and self-awareness, the functional team was really in touch with their feelings and they were able to express them. If they did get upset during a meeting, they were able to say that to their team members. Whereas the dysfunctional team sometimes couldn't identify how they were feeling or couldn't express it, and they ended up being very resentful toward their team members. And lastly, the functional team was able to keep themselves distanced from the work. They were very self-regulated. If someone criticized their work, they didn't take it personally. Whereas the dysfunctional team, any sort of criticism of their work they thought was a criticism of themselves. And they gave they gave everyone involved in the study an EQ measurement test, like the kind that Doris talked about. And the teams that were functional scored much higher. So having a good emotional intelligence can be really effective in your teamwork.
Okay, so let's talk about practicing EQ as leaders. The new generation of employees are really want their leaders to be more visible. They want to know about their leaders' beliefs, interests, values. So leaders these days really have to have high EQ so that they can motivate others, influence, gain trust, manage change, conflict, and take responsibilities that are beyond their capability. Now we have a picture here of someone you'll probably recognize as Mr. Donald Trump. He is seen as a leader, and we actually have a video to show you about his EQ so that you guys can get some ideas of how to rate him. Just if you go up, and then just right here.
Good morning. Today I'm very proud of myself.
This guy is huge.
I'm worth many billions of dollars.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our top 10 favorite Donald Trump moments.
What a great honor it must be for you to honor me tonight.
Number 9. A Rosie by any other name is just as degenerate.
Well, Rosie O'Donnell's disgusting. I mean, both inside and out. You take a look at her, she's a slob. She talks like a truck driver.
Trump is not the nicest kid on the playground.
Rosie is a loser.
To be fair, Rosie started this feud. In 2006, after the Donald decided not to strip Miss USA of her crown when she was caught underage drinking, O'Donnell criticized his ethical judgment. It all went downhill from there.
So probably I'll sue her, because it would be fun. I'd like to take some money out of her fat ass pockets.
Did they bury the house?
Okay, so that's Donald Trump. How would you evaluate his EQ?
Doesn't have a very realistic self-assessment.
Okay, so maybe some self-awareness issues there?
Yeah.
So how about self-regulation? Impulse control?
Maybe not a lot of integrity either.
Okay. So, empathy?
I'm not seeing much.
Okay. So, this is a great way to watch when you were watching leaders, just watch these sort of things and it'll get you more used to EQ as well. You can then kind of think about these different types of EQ and see, examples of it.
So everyone I've encountered at Hull, I think, has a pretty high EQ, but in your jobs, you're going to have to work with people who have a low EQ. Here are some sort of general tips for managing people, because you'll probably have employees who have low EQ. And Rohini and I are going to do a little demonstration of how to apply these. So thank you for joining me here today, Rohini. How is your project going?
What can I say? It's going terrible. I mean, don't blame me because the reports are useless because Priya doesn't know what she's doing. And Adam just sits on the computer all day playing Mahjong. I really think he's trying to make me look bad.
Well, okay, I understand what you're saying. Have you tried talking to your team about increasing their teamwork and getting them to focus on the task?
That's not my problem. They should just all do their work and get on with it.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can come up with a solution. What are your ideas for how we can improve the figures?
I don't know. Maybe Beck can go work with Dominic in the art department. They're usually good at figures.
I think that's a really great idea.
Really? Okay, thanks. You should really order Khaled to get his work done and get me the data I need.
I think it would be better coming from you. You've got a really good track record with this team, and I think that you can manage them effectively. What if we get Khaled to come to the meeting, and you can show him all the work you're doing and ask for his input? That might get him more involved. I'll come to the meeting, too, to show my support.
Yeah, I guess that might work. I'll give it a try.
So, which of these techniques did you see being used to deal with a low EQ employee?
Blaming others.
Well, so I tried to avoid blaming Rohini for any problem, although Rohini did blame the people that she works with.
You're trying to make the change more self-directed. You need to take charge of it, not blame it on somebody else.
Yeah.
And you assured her about the support from your side.
Yeah.
Continuous support.
Good. All right, well, so that is most of our presentation. We basically wanted to demonstrate that, oh, no, wait, we have one more slide, I think. Yeah, and so just there has been scientific studies that managers who score higher on having emotional intelligence generally have less stress, better health, and are better at their job. So it is an important factor in your performance at work. And so we really believe that being aware of your emotional intelligence and being able to gauge the emotional intelligence of others is a useful skill and is valuable in business. And we hope that you guys have learned something valuable here today. That's our presentation, and we'd be happy. We've got about 5 minutes to answer any questions you have.
Questions?
I have one. Go ahead. It was a very good presentation. Thank you very much. Very insightful. I never thought emotional intelligence had actually so much an effect on a person's overall outlook. and the way you portray yourself out in the society or in your job or wherever. Do you think this could be a part of our curriculum in terms of training us to be more emotionally intelligent than we already are or we not? And how will this affect us in terms of us going out in the industry and showing that intelligence?
I mean, I think it would be, one of the things we wanted to do with the presentation was to ask the class to take an emotional intelligence test just because we were sort of curious how everyone would measure up. We couldn't find a good test that was available for free, but I do think it would be nice if this was part of the curriculum, if our emotional intelligence could be gauged. As Doris talked about, a lot of the best tests involve people who you have worked with also rating you, so it might be something that would come, later in the year, not during the toolbox or something.
Well, the most interesting would be when we take the test at the beginning, when we come to it, and we get also a lot of training on our personal skills, so that we do it at the beginning, at the end, to see our improvement. That would be, in my opinion, the best one. Yeah. And also at the beginning you don't have peers which can be tested, so maybe it could be a test where you do the ability test, and you can really see how optimistic and pessimistic you are and how you will be successful in your life based on your emotional intelligence.
We had one test to judge our ability in terms of managing ourselves when there's a conflict situation.
Yeah, the SDI.
I strongly feel that there should be something done at the start of the toolbox with emotional intelligence, and something maybe at the end of your whole MBA program. So I'm really pleased to see if we can collaborate our minds and thoughts together and come up with a research paper or a questionnaire which all of us could take, and then judge ourselves as to how we can improve on this, because 58% of emotional intelligence is having an effect on what you do. And if you can really go beyond your limits and control that, I think it's going to do wonders for all of us. Thank you.
And also during the period, while we are studying MBA, and by the end of the module, if we can get our team feedbacks as well, that can be very helpful as well. That can help us, give us an indicator on the report, shows us that where exactly a person stands and what sort of improvements one can do in order to make things better in the next module.
I agree.
Just to build upon that point, I think there's definitely a benefit of doing a test in a controlled environment. But a lot of the time, emotional intelligence, I feel it's really important to see how it is when you're actually put in a conflict situation, when things aren't going as to plan. Yeah. And then really some of the true natures come out. Because what I found with a lot of the initial testing is when you're sitting there and you're filling out these questionnaires, you're not always as realistic as you should be or could be. And so it would be interesting to that whole aspect of getting feedback from your peers, especially when it's the week where everything's due, and seeing how your group views your emotional intelligence. I think that's great.
And Adam?
I just had a question on the back sheet here, because there's the 3 different superiority, confidence gesture, hand gripping, wrist gesture, and the upper arm grip. I was just wondering what's the difference or what's the
so there's a little arrow underneath of the higher up you go on, the more.
That's what that is. I was assuming that was.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah,
got it.
Just when every position you assume, transmit a different message, and the first one that is just this one is a position of superiority or authority, is used from military or policemen sometimes in some country, and it's very different from the other two, because the second transmits frustration, and the third one is an increasing, this is much more angry, the upper moves the hand, the angry has become, the person has become,
Okay.
Just building up on that, I would like to say that the same posture in Africa, it means you are in discomfort, or you are kind of, insecure, It can mean exactly the other way around. And also, Ali, I would like to tell you that one of the best things that you can experience here at HAL, you can actually do the test by dealing with other people, and actually at least you're going to become aware you're not going to get offside anymore if you want to. So that's a very good experience.
All right. Oh, sorry, we were right at 30
Okay,
minutes.
no problem. But we're happy to talk further right after the presentation.
Thank you.